Hi everyone, welcome back to another continuing education check-in. Today I don't know how we haven't talked about this yet. I was coming up with ideas and I'm like, wait a minute.
This is the basics.
Yeah, exactly. So today we're going to be talking if you can be friends with your ex, and we're just going to talk about our thoughts and debate a little bit what is okay and not okay. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, we have another product battles for you guys. And this time we're going to talk about home decor. So stay tuned to the end for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And right off the bat, I just want to get our first impressions if we think that you can still be friends with your ex after you broke up.
I'm going to keep it simple for now. I'm going to just say yes.
You're going to say yes? Okay, so I'm going to say no. And of course, there's going to be nuances in our answers, I'm sure. But this is the first time, right off the bat, we've disagreed.
Right.
So I'm curious, why are you, a yes overall?
Because I'm friends with, I think, a lot of my exes. And, I guess it comes down to, how do you define an ex? Did they have to be somebody you were boyfriend, girlfriend with? Did they have to be somebody you were... Yeah. How serious was the relationship?
Yeah.
And I think I've never had, a super, super serious relationship in the past. So it's, been okay for me to, still keep them as my friends.
Okay.
I think on the flip side, if my partner wanted to still be friends with their ex, it would make me, unhappy.
Yeah. Well, have you ever encountered, anyone that you've been talking to or dated that was uncomfortable that... you still talk to, maybe your first ex or something, or someone that you saw before them?
Okay, I don't know if this is I hope this doesn't come across as, me being sneaky or anything, but people just don't usually ask. Because, I think when I'm dating somebody, I'm, all in usually on the relationship, and I try to focus on them. So nobody ever asks, oh, are you still in contact with your exes? Oh, are you still, those questions just, don't really come up.
Uh-huh.
Or, even if I will say, just, in my regular talking, if I'm oh, and I was talking to my first ex, and he was saying this, and da-da-da, nobody questions it because they're so secure in the way that, I feel about them. So, they don't think about it too much. So,
in my head, there's going to be situations where it naturally comes up. For example, I think in most relationships, at some point you have a talk about your relationship history, and so it's nothing crazy. It's oh, when was your last relationship?
Right.
How long was it for? And then maybe you mention that person's name.
Okay.
You mention why you guys broke up, and it's just to provide context to what you're looking for and what your expectations are, because those have been shaped by your previous relationships. And then it's if you bring up, oh, I want to go on a walk with this friend on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Then it's oh, isn't that your ex?
Okay.
Or, so it you never have a sit-down conversation about it. I agree. There's there's more subtle ways that it comes up. Yeah, just
in little conversations, yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm kind of wondering that, that has, maybe, what for you, what does it mean to, be friends with your ex? To what extent? Okay. Are you just following each other?
Yeah, maybe just keeping each other on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think I have an ex that I have a few exes actually, I guess, that I was friends with them before I dated them. And so when things didn't really work out, we just stayed being friends.
Yeah.
So, we'll have a FaceTime call every few months, every few whatever. We'll text each other. And there's still a lot of love in the relationship, but it's just we've defaulted back to the friend settings. And of course, sometimes when you're having conversations with them, it starts to tiptoe the line a little bit because you have dated. And so when you're talking to that ex, you can't just ignore that part of your relationship. But I feel it's not enough, of course it would make a new partner probably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything for me or my friend. Nothing is going to come of it. We've already explored that avenue and we're not planning to do anything about it.
Yeah. But just so I understand better, with these exes, maybe you follow each other on social media Are you sending like happy birthday texts?
Yeah.
Are you okay? And then
Like the happy birthday, happy new year, like.
and then like how often would you like send a text besides the holidays?
I don't think it's like continuous texting.
Yeah.
But I do think it's like pretty frequent FaceTime calls. Like, at least
that is crazy.
well, like at least once every month or so. And like, okay, wait, you're gonna have to bleep this out. He's just such a friend.
Oh.
So like you FaceTime him all the time.
Okay, I see that.
Like now that I think it does help. I think let's say if I was seeing somebody and like I told them like, hey, this is my ex, and then they knew who the person was, then it would like help either take away any worries that they might have, or it'll like add to their worries. You know? Like I just told you a name and you're like, oh, okay, now it's okay that you FaceTime them all the time.
Okay, and that goes back to the point that you were making before. It depends on like how serious the relationship was, and also like how that was defined. So I think that like if there wasn't a label put on it, like you guys weren't like boyfriend or girlfriend, and like maybe you're in the talking stage and then it never goes anywhere, like I would like if my girlfriend was still talking to someone like that, like I think I would be okay with it.
Right. I think it gets worse if it's like, you know, if their ex is like the one that got away. Like I'm always really scared of that. Like, oh, like was the last girl like is the only reason we're together now because like she didn't want you and like that's why you're here now, and like if you're still friends with her, like you could change your mind at any point.
Yeah.
Like because like you didn't end because of any real reason.
Yeah, that's so relatable.
So that's kind of like a scarier situation, and I think in that, and I feel like that's why this question is kind of loaded. And, like, it was hard to say the yes or the no at the beginning because it's, like, it really depends on, like, the nuances of the relationship that they had. Like you said, why it ended and, like, how serious it was. Like, because different people take seriousness in a different way. Like, you were saying about, like, oh, did you put a label on it? Other people can take seriousness in terms of, like, intimacy. Like, if you got super intimate with them, like, that's super serious and maybe they don't want you to talk to them anymore. Or, I don't know, like, maybe meeting each other's families. Like, different things could make a relationship serious more than just like what meets the eye.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I would like a better idea for each of those things, and maybe we can talk about like what is helpful and what is not helpful. So let's take well, I think maybe before we even get into that, I want to just ask a question. So maybe like based on my past, I'm comfortable with certain things and not comfortable with others. But let's say I was dating a girl and what she defined as serious was like more strict than me. Okay. So like maybe for me, like there's this girl in my past and things weren't too serious, never got super far. But then for her, like if she saw that situation, she'd be like, oh, like that you guys were actually kind of serious.
Right. And that's super normal. I think that happens.
I feel like the girl I'm talking to, her preferences like overrule mine in the situation. True. Right? And what she's comfortable with.
I totally agree with this.
Okay. So yeah, maybe we'll set that as a baseline. You should always figure out what your partner is okay and not okay with.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like you can't change your past, right?
Yeah.
So if they're a little uncomfortable with your past and who you're still talking to, like I feel like you have to adjust to them and make them feel comfortable. And a lot of times it just means not bringing it up. I'm not telling you to do things behind their back, but like if they don't want you to talk to them as much, like I think you can respect that, but then also out of respect for the person that you're currently seeing, not to bring up that person in conversation and stuff like that.
I think like exes have a very special place in a relationship, and it could totally either harm or hurt your relationship.
Yeah.
Like if you take like the lessons that you learned in that past relationship with your ex and you're trying to be better, that's a different thing. But if like I remember my first ex, like anything special that we would do, I don't know if he did it like by default, like maybe he just wasn't thinking about it that much, but he would bring up his first ex. He'd be like, oh, like da 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 when me and so and so did this, and I was like, you know, because it made our moments feel less special, or like made me feel like he was always comparing our things to like their things.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's no good. And yeah, you're right, Ethan. You have to like, it's hard to talk about exes. Like, you know, we're saying like you have to figure out like what you're comfortable with and stuff like that. But it's hard to figure that out because like you never sit down and like go into detail about like, oh, and like, did you do this with her? And did you talk, like, how often did you text her? Because different people have a different perspective on like how serious the relationship is.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you think like it's your responsibility to ask and try to figure out for yourself? Like, you can't expect them to just tell you everything you want to know, because they don't know what you think is serious or not serious, and maybe they leave out details when they're telling you.
Yeah.
Not like
Not in a sneaky way. Yeah.
Right. But do you
Just
think
'cause they
that's
don't think
your
so.
responsibility to do the asking?
Yeah. I think, okay, so I want to say this. I'm like, I love context. I love knowing every little detail, even if it's going to hurt me. I feel like I'd rather know and be hurt rather than not know.
Yeah.
But I will say, I don't think there's any benefit to like going digging around someone's past if it's not coming up. For instance, if they are not still in contact with their ex, like, is it even worthwhile to sit there and like have them, you know, deliver like a whole monologue about every single person they've dated and how that relationship was and what it entailed and what they did wrong and why it ended? Like, it doesn't affect the present at all, right? Because what you have already in front of you is like the person who they are, shaped by all of those things. Let's say if they wanted to stay in contact with like their last ex before you, then yes, it's your choice and it's your role and your job to like ask the questions that you need answered. Like, oh, like, did she meet your family? Like, did she, I don't know, meet all of your friends? Did she do this? Just because if those are important things to you, then it's your responsibility to ask.
I think sometimes, like, if you notice them reacting in a certain way, then maybe understanding their past is going to help in that situation.
Okay.
So, for example, like, they keep saying that they don't want you to meet their parents, and it's not the right time yet. And maybe it's been like a year or like, and it would be helpful because maybe their ex met their parents too soon, and like everyone's expectations got way too high too early,
right?
And
that's super.
Instead of you like feeling sad
and feeling like it's about yourself,
exactly, it might be helpful to know in that situation, oh, it's because this happened in the past.
Right. And I think that's then the responsibility of the person who had the ex, like, because in any situation you have to be responsible for communicating effectively.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if they're actually like, you can't just say, oh, I don't want you to meet my parents yet, it's not time yet. And like, you know, maybe if it's in the early days of dating and you're okay with it, that's fine. But I think if your partner's feeling uneasy about it and they're like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know the why. It's your job to tell them the why. And if you can't, then again, we circle back to like, maybe, you know, you're not able to communicate super well. Maybe like you have to reevaluate if you can meet each other's needs.
Yeah, definitely. And so the reason why I said no, or actually I'm jumping around a lot. And one thing I want to ask you though is that like, you keeping in touch with your exes, did those relationships end amicably?
Yes.
And do you think that plays a role in you like continue? Yeah, that makes sense. And so
I kind of want to say a thing that's going to maybe alarm a lot of people, but I hope...
Oh, we should get these ready, guys.
No, okay. What I'm going to say is sometimes when a relationship with an ex ends amicably and nothing is actually wrong, sometimes, like maybe like let's say if, you know, on a scale of 1 to 100, maybe it's like 5%, you're still friends with them because you're like, oh, like you're open to... I'm not saying that they're like your security policy, like they're like, you know, your fallback or anything like that. But just like a little bit, it's like your safety place. And like, you know, there was love there once. And like, you know, now you're both different and you're keeping up with each other as you're both changing. So it's like there could be a potential for something there.
I see. That's not so crazy to say.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that's alarming at all because a lot of times we break up with people because it's not the right time or the right situation. So for example, like maybe right now you guys are in different life stages. One person's working, one person is still in school. And that makes things really hard because one person has financial flexibility, one person does not.
Right.
One person has more time to spend on the weekends free, one person does not. And so like for many reasons, like maybe you decide that this isn't gonna work out. Maybe you're doing long distance and
Right.
the distance is getting to you, and there's no like foreseeable way to break that distance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so for those people, it makes sense to, well, it makes sense in one way to
Yeah.
still keep in touch with them, because you're like, if the circumstances like ever changed,
Yeah.
then maybe we can go back to.
But then I feel like that almost, like, the reason I was so scared to say it, because it feels like it's disrespectful of your current relationship, or it's like a little bit could be considered as like emotionally cheating, even though you're not acting on it, you're not planning in that direction.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, because I feel like it has to come down to like, okay, why are you still friends with your ex?
Yeah. So this gets into why I said no to can you still be friends with your ex. And to be honest, I've seesawed on this many, many times. And so this is just like where the seesaw has landed like right now in my life. But, and I'm starting to buy into this more and more. When you decide that a relationship doesn't work out, I don't think it's healthy to tell yourself that there's hope for it in the future. Like, for the time being, you need to move on.
Oh,
and
that's super true.
You need to just
You need to
like
process it and get through it.
exactly. And then also like in general, like in dating, the modern version of dating is not to put all your eggs in one basket, because it's like very risky, and the other person can backstab you really easily because they have options, and you also want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you want. Yeah. And so you don't want to just like settle on someone. But that can be very dangerous, because now your attention is split. You can't put 100% into any relationship that you have. And so I think while you still keep the door open with someone, you can't fully put 100% with a current relationship that you have. Right. And maybe like you're still in the talking stage, so it's not time to put 100%. But I do think that when you make that person your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it's time to like, it's time to go all in. And because you've already vetted them. Right. Like before you've put a label on it, you've spent all that time making sure that this is someone that you're willing to go 100% in with. And work towards like whatever goal that you've set.
I'm going to say this also just from like experience. Usually if you stay friends with an ex, you're like not telling your current partner and you're not telling your ex like all the details about your current relationship. And like I feel like when you're naturally doing that, it communicates to the other person that like the door's still open. Like you said, it's not 100%. Yeah. But I think I've realized when I have become 100% with someone, then like the ex that I'm friends with starts to naturally distance themselves. Yeah. The calls will naturally get less frequent, because like even though they were your friend before you dated them and now they want to be your friend again, like I feel like there's like a natural sense of like jealousy. Like I feel like I get jealous when my ex talks to somebody else. Like even if I haven't talked to him in 2 years, like, you know, like there's just like I feel like it's kind of natural to feel that way. Yeah. So I feel like if you are being friends with your ex in the right way and you're 100% in with someone, and as long as you're communicating that on both sides, I think the way that the relationship ends up being will be like naturally pretty distanced, and like I don't know how close of friends you'll be.
So I still want to push back a little bit because I'm trying to be very practical here. Okay. So I'll start off by saying like, why do you still need them as a friend? Like, do you need more friends? Like, you still have other friends, and are they providing you something that no one else is? I think that it's very dangerous. Like, if you're a people pleaser, you just want to be friends with everyone.
Yeah, and you sort of go with the flow. If they're wanting to be your friend, you're like, okay, yeah, same. I'll meet you there.
Exactly. But like very practically speaking, I mean, I won't speak for everyone because everyone's different, but at least for me, I appreciate like a few close friendships as opposed to like
many.
100 like just very acquaintance level friendships. And so if your friendship with your ex is not even going to be that close. Like, let's say you started seeing someone and they naturally drifted away. Like, do you really want to invest in a friendship like that? Because it's going to make things more challenging in the future.
Right.
Are you going to invite this person to your wedding? Like, are you going to invite this person to your birthday parties? Like, it's okay to want to be friends with them, but it makes things way more complicated, and it's not like you're at a lack for friends.
Right.
In general.
Okay. I've been asked this question a lot, Ethan, that you just posed about, like, do you not have enough friends? Like, why do you need them in your life?
Right.
And, like, I don't know if I'm, like, I guess I'm going to say I'm hoping I'm giving the girls' answer, because this is how I've seen all of my girlfriends operate. Typically, all of my girlfriends will keep their exes around. You just said birthday party. Are you going to invite your exes? Yeah.
Whoa. Oh my. Can you put this on now?
That's what I've... Literally, this Friday, I was at... Okay, I'm going to say this. You're going to bleep this out. But this Friday, I was at party. She had 3 exes in, like, the past few months. And again, they were all just, like, you know, some were, like, more intense than others. I don't know if you remember her, like... stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. So that was one ex. The second ex was talking to her about that first ex and being like, oh, what happened with that one? Because now she was on to a third ex. And they were all at this one party.
What?
And, like,
this is the episode of The Bachelorette?
I myself have done that. I myself have had... I wouldn't even call them exes, in my opinion. But, like, you know, people that I've had interest in, or maybe they've had interest in me. I've had, like, multiple of them show up to the same party. Because as a girl... This goes back to our very first episode. This is the only episode I'll ever be able to quote. Can guys and girls be friends? 99% of a girl's guy friends, fine, I'll say maybe 90% or 80%, are, like, interested in her, or have been, or have expressed their interest in her at some point.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, like, somebody saying that they're interested makes them an ex. You know?
Okay, I get that.
And so all of these people that, and, like, maybe one day you were bored and you're like, oh, maybe I have interest too. And then 2 days later you're like, no. It's like, are they an ex now because you were both interested mutually at the same time?
Right.
Right? So then when all these people come to the party and, like, your current partner is there, but there's also this sea of men that, like, have been hovering around because they were interested.
Yeah.
I think those relationships and what my friend did, like, those are all, like, less serious relationships. I think if you have, like, a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of situation, like, I don't think that person should be at your wedding.
Right.
Unless you have a really, and you were saying, what does that friendship give you? Unless you have a really strong foundation. I'm going to give you names because I think it'll make it easier for you to understand. Because you're looking at me really confused. Like, will be at my wedding, regardless of who I marry. I'm not kidding.
Can't believe this.
And, like, so, like, that's a serious relationship if you think about it.
It is.
But he is going to be at my wedding because his friendship offers a lot of, like, it does offer me something that none of my other friendships do. He, like, gets me in a different way than everybody else. You know, he gives me good advice. He's a good listener. He's a good friend. Like, he's reliable. He's trustworthy. Like, he has all these great things that, I don't have in all my other friendships.
This is, like, this episode, I've heard the most out-of-pocket things I've ever heard. Like, this whole time we've been doing this podcast.
I'm going to just keep these on.
Like,
I don't know, like, if I'm being
starting
Delulu.
to shake right now. Well, I guess we need to figure it out.
Maybe I'm not
right?
Delulu.
What? Yeah, you think?
I was thinking about it. I was why is Ethan so freaked out?
Let's talk it out a little bit. So, I don't. Where do I even start? So, okay, let's say like you are in a relationship right now. Mm-hmm. You're still going to, like, continue the level of friendship that you have with.
Yes, although I just broke the news like last week that I'm in a relationship, and that's when I sensed, like, he had a couple of comments of, like, a little bit of jealousy, or, like, you know, for the most part he was trying to give me, as somebody who has also dated me, he was giving me advice. He's like, hey, here are the few things that you did that made me feel insecure in our relationship. Try not to repeat them now, because I want this to work out for you. So, like, that's the insight that he can offer that, like, nobody else can offer, because he's dated me. But but now as my friend, he wants what's best for me. Like, he's in a special position that he can play the part of a friend and the like while having all the knowledge and insights of a relationship, because I think people are different when they're in a relationship than they are with their friends. So it's like a cool little area of like, and like that's, you're asking any of my exes that I'm still in touch with, that's because they fit into that category where they're able to be my friend. And like, sure, there's some residual feelings of like, oh, like what if we're different now, and like what if things could work, and maybe, you know, there's times that I'm like single and I'm like, oh, let's try this again, and like there's times when they're single and they're like, let's try this again, but like the timings never line up or something. So it's not really like they're waiting on deck kind of, but it's just like they're uniquely positioned because of our shared experiences to like help you thrive in your next relationship, help you learn from your mistakes, and like be aware while you're making them and stuff like that.
Okay, I think I'm going to ask a question that is super critical. Okay. And I think is going to, like, define, like, this whole episode. And so, can you explain what's going on in your head? Let's say you're in a relationship right now. How do you view all these exes that you're still talking to, especially?
Okay. Okay, so I view them, like I said, I'm not going to lie, I view them a little bit as, like, a security net. Again, not saying that I'm going to get back together with could have a new girlfriend. Yeah. Like, you know, so I'm not saying that, but a little bit they give a sense of security. Like, you know, in moments where you're feeling like not that great about yourself, you're like, oh, but they did love me, and like they're still around, like, and it feels kind of safe. Yeah. But mostly I view them as like, oh, like here's this, like I said, this super insightful person, and their role in my life right now is to help me succeed in my current relationship. You know, like they can talk to me and they can be very open and honest because now we're no longer in a relationship. So they can be pretty blunt about like, hey, Sania, like whenever you like shut down and kind of pull away, it doesn't make me want to get closer to you. It makes me take a few steps back as well. Yeah. You know, so like they can call out little things that you do so that you don't repeat them.
I see. Okay, so I think I'm going to like define my views, which have been shaped by what you said, and I think this in general is like good advice. I think that if the relationship ended amicably, there's a path where you could still be friends with your ex, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. But I think that path, like there's many nuances, and I think the main thing is that you need to reassure the person that you're with right now, like your boyfriend, your girlfriend, that there is a bulletproof reason why you guys did not work out. Yes. And this is not gonna like ever turn into anything.
Oh my gosh, super yes. This is one thing I like completely didn't hit on, but like,
yeah, you should.
My friends, I'm so sorry.
You just said it's so crazy.
No, I am friends with my exes, but all of my exes have a very like a reason that even after all this time has stayed unchanged for why we cannot be together. Right. So that's why it's like a dreamy door that's still there, and it's like we're still friends and we're still getting along, and so your mind wanders, obviously, especially when you're single. Right. But when you're actually in a relationship and when your mind is not wandering anymore and you found your person, that person just serves as just a friend. Like, you know you're not going to pursue anything there. Right. You're not looking to at all.
Now, like, if there is no bulletproof reason, I don't think that's okay, because the door is like, there's still like a crack open.
It's too much open.
And then if the relationship did not end on good terms, then I think by no means like should you still be friends with your ex.
I completely agree.
Because like put that on a toxicology report, I think that it's toxic because you're hurting yourself. Yes. Because there's a good reason why you shouldn't be together. You fought about it and things didn't end well, yet you're still trying to like...
I think you're trying to keep them in your life because you still have love for them.
Yeah, right.
And like it's like consoling your own heart to be around them. Right. But I feel like at some point, yeah, you're right, because like they're not your friend. Like you're consoling your heart because you're trying to say, oh, maybe it didn't work out as a relationship, but maybe it'll work out as friends. Right. And it's just like, then I ask the question of like, okay, but why do you want to be friends with them? You know? Exactly. And a lot of it is also like, did you ever start off as friends, or are you trying to use the name of friends to keep them around just because you can't keep them around as like a partner?
Exactly. I think a lot of people fall into the trap and they revert back to like prioritizing similar interests. So they're like, okay, even if this relationship didn't work out, we met playing volleyball together.
Yeah.
And we still play volleyball. We can be volleyball friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess maybe in that sense it's okay, but don't confuse that with like, this can be like
Let's turn it into a friendship
a deeper friendship, right?
Yeah.
Because I think relationships, like you were saying, Sania, it's a evolution of a friendship.
Right.
So a relationship at its foundation and core is always going to be a solid friendship.
Yeah.
If that relationship didn't work out, that's a sign that the solid friendship isn't there. Like, you can be an activity friend, but even then, like, you have other people to do those
Yes.
activities with. You don't need that person. And you don't want it to ever, like, complicate things in the future, especially if things didn't end well.
Yeah. And I think, you have to make that distinction on your own. I don't think,
Yeah.
Talking to your partner about it, letting them know this and that, coming up with excuses. Like, I think that's something you kind of have to sit with and process on your own and figure out, like, why is this person in my life? Why do I still want to reach out and still want to talk to them and feel good when I'm around them? Like, is this for the right reasons?
Right. And so I also have to ask you, Sania, like, going back to birthday party, was it awkward for you at all, like, seeing all these guys there that she had history with?
It wasn't awkward for me, but also at this party was a few people, not that I had history with them, but like that, had expressed interest at some point. And I think one really big thing that I did is, like, with my current partner, I, like, sat him down and I was like, hey, we're going to go to this place. XYZ people were, like, people that there was something with, and you should just know about it before we go in, because, like, you don't want your partner going into something. Like, imagine if current partner didn't know that, like, all these 3 guys were, like, her exes.
Yeah.
He would look silly because everybody would be in on this inside joke that he doesn't know.
Right.
So I think as long as you're open about it and you're communicating it, I think it's okay. I don't think he felt awkward because he has a very positive mentality, boyfriend. So he took it as like, oh, like, it didn't work out with all of them. Like, that's why she's with me. So they can stick around as friends if they want. And, like, it's better than her hanging out with them behind his back or, like, without him. So, like, he took it all as, like, because he's just a positive person.
Yeah.
But again, that's his boundary. He's okay with it.
Right.
I don't know if I would be okay to be in a room with me and, like, all of my partner's exes. I would not want to be in that room for sure.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm on board. Like, it makes sense, and at the end, like, it's okay because he was comfortable with it.
Yes.
And like, he was prepped, and he was not insecure about it, and so it was okay going forward that way. Okay, very quickly, like, before we wrap up, I do want to just, like, there's, like, a few things, like, in terms of boundaries, and I want to talk about, like, what's helpful and what's not helpful.
Okay.
And so, do you think it's okay to, like, text and FaceTime, like, communicate with them regularly?
I think, and now I'm trying to speak on the behalf of, like, or from the perspective of, like, my partner's trying to talk to their ex. Like, I'm not going to speak for myself anymore because I think,
Yeah.
I think I would be, again, depending on how serious the relationship was, and if they started out as friends before, I think I would be okay with them keeping in touch. I definitely still want to be a priority, and, like, there's no way they should ever, like, decline my call or, like, take time away from me to be with them. Like, let's say if we can only see each other on the weekends and they're like, no, I need to FaceTime my friend no. I still have to be a priority because I'm your present, that's your past. But you can stay in contact with them, like, on their birthday, if they're going through a tough thing, like, for sure you can reach out and, like, help them through it if you guys started as friends and want to stay friends.
I think in general, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, I think if it's, like, a longer than an hour FaceTime call, then it's, like, the red flags pop up. But I think that, because at that point, it's, like, it's more than catching up, right? It's, like, it's starting to get a little deeper.
And like I said, like, now speaking from my perspective, exes that I've talked to, like, it starts as, like, catching up, and then the call goes past that 1 hour mark, and then it starts being like, oh, what did we do wrong, and, like, and then it starts going down a different path, which is, like, not a good path to go down if you are 100% all in with your current partner. So I think I agree with you. Like, it's okay to communicate even if it's regular, but
don't let it get too far where
Yes.
you start reflecting on your own relationship and
Yeah.
also like when you feel like it's not catching up anymore.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest with yourself. Like, you know when you're being flirty and when you're
Yeah.
leaving the door open a crack. Like, you know it.
Yeah.
It could be little comments, it could be this and that, but you know it, and you'll feel guilty about it after. So, like, if you're doing something that makes you guilty, like, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that point, like, end the call.
Yeah.
And, okay, and then what about the situation, like, hanging out one-on-one with them?
See, that one's, like, a tricky one. I have hung out one-on-one.
Yeah.
But, like, it has to be very specific. It has to be, like, what is the goal of us hanging out? Is the goal of us hanging out you and me to spend time together? Because then you cannot do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care how close friends you were, like, or how close friends you want to be.
Yeah.
But if the goal is, like, oh, you're in town visiting and, like, you want to tour these 1, 2, 3 places and, like, I'm hosting you. So, like, for sure, like, we can go to 1, 2, 3 places.
What's the difference?
Because then the goal is not you and me spending time together. The goal is, oh, he's in town and he wants to go to Disneyland. So the goal is exploring Disneyland and not each other's company.
But in order to explore Disneyland, you're spending time together.
But then the goal is different. Like, so the alternative is like, oh, let's meet up and go for a walk around this lame park that we do not care about, but we care so much just like so that me and you can walk around together and spend time together. Like, there's nothing in that hangout besides the company.
But what if I was a clever guy and I'm like, oh, there's this like restaurant and bar that I really want to check out. Like,
I think like in general, also, I hate to be like, you know, I feel like I'm sounding like my mom, but like nighttime plans is just a no-go. I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
Once it gets dark, like you need to be at home. You should not be with somebody else.
Yeah.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
In a group, okay, I can understand. But one-on-one is like just not acceptable.
Okay, I think I agree with you. Like, no nighttime activities. And then I think what you said makes sense. Like, to have a specific goal that is not centered around you guys spending time together. But then I think that there should also be like some kind of time limit. Like, I don't think it should be like an all day thing, but it could be like a morning thing, it could be afternoon thing.
And I will say, like, asterisks, like when I did hang out with all day and when I was like hosting him, I was not in a relationship then. So I think like now,
that's
I think
different.
like I haven't experienced this new wave.
Yeah.
So I think like, I'm trying to think like, oh, now that I am in a relationship, like Max was trying to come visit me for the holidays and like I was feeling like not good about it, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I agree.
Okay, and the next one, staying in touch with their parents. Like, let's say, like, or their family. Maybe it's not like their mom and their dad, but maybe it's like their sibling or their aunt that you're close with.
Like, off the bat, I kind of want to say like absolutely not.
Oh.
But I want to be an understanding person. And like, you know, maybe if you got along well with their sibling or something like that, sure. Like, no harm, no foul. They could be like some, as long as you, again, it's all based on your intention. As long as you're not using their sibling as like an in to them and like to find out about like, oh, who are they dating now? What are they? No. If you're just like friends with their sibling because like, if you met their sibling like out in the park playing pickleball, you would have been friends with them too. Just like two personalities that got along. Sure, you can do that. What do you think?
I'm a little more on the edge. I think that you can be polite, but I would keep like the interactions brief. So I would definitely pull back a little bit. Like, I would still reply. I wouldn't like hang out with them. Like, I would ask them how they're doing, but then keep it at that level. Okay, what about like their friends? Like, would you still keep in touch with their friends?
I think that's like, at least historically, I'm very like closed off. Like, that's your friends. You keep them in the divorce. Like, like you and I is a different story, but like I'm not involving your friends.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fully on board with that. Okay, maybe we'll keep it there now, and maybe that'll turn into another segment or something at some point. But I got a lot out of this. Like, I think I learned that maybe I can be more okay with that in certain situations than I thought I was originally.
And I learned that, like, you know, it's okay to draw those boundaries and like establish, you know, different things. If you're seeing somebody and you're more committed and you're like wanting to be serious.
I have so much editing to do.
It's just you weren't weren't getting it without the context.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna wrap up this episode with product battles, and today we're gonna talk about a home item that we have purchased to use as decor that we think is really essential. And so if you're ever having people over or like your boyfriend and girlfriend visiting, like this is going to just make your place stand out more and be more inviting and add that nice touch to it. And so we're gonna each share one product that we recommend, and then you guys are going to vote and also comment below and let us know which product you think is better. And so I think this hasn't gone as successfully as we thought in the past, but I will say, like, we've done product battles twice, and I've technically won both because there's been one vote each time for me.
There has been a vote for you?
Yeah, so it's like 1-0.
Ethan's probably going in and voting for himself.
No, but or maybe I'm paying someone to do it, but that's just like the way the marble fell.
Okay, you know what? We're gonna get some more votes on this one, and we'll see. I'm pretty confident of my product.
Okay, you want to go first?
Sure. My product is a rug, like a good quality, like Persian style rug. I know real Persian rugs are like so expensive to afford. So like, you don't have to like break the bank.
Yeah.
Here I have like 3 representative photos.
Oh, wow.
I wish I threw a photo of my apartment in there because my rug looks amazing.
Oh, okay. It's just not Persian.
It is, but it's not any of these 3. Like I don't have like my specific one linked. But I think that's like the one big investment that I did when I first started to live alone.
Yeah.
I think having a rug in your apartment shows so much character. I feel like it shows like a lot. It makes the place cozy. It like ties it together, and it makes you feel like, okay, this is like a big kid home.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have a rug in your apartment, like a nice rug. Sorry, a lot of people have like their starter rugs, but like a nice rug when they're like in college. So I feel like, it's like an art piece, basically. I think it makes the space cozy, and it ties it together. As you can see in these photos, you can match it to your decor, which is like what I like to do, especially because Persian rugs come in a lot of different like colors. Yeah.
Okay, so your rug, did you also put it in the living room?
I did.
And it's okay.
I put it in the living room, like by my couch.
Yeah.
I feel like having rugs, so like I live in a studio right now and I have like 3 or 4 rugs. And like I feel like they're like sectional, like they create different spaces. Even though it's all one space, like they create, here's like my cozy corner with the rug and the beanbags to read a book. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. Like I would vote for you.
That's one vote.
Yeah, so No, but I don't vote, so...
so the legend goes.
But I want a rug. Because I've considered it in the past, and, I think what you said that really stood out was it's an art piece. It really makes it feel cozy. And, for me, those are the 2 big things. So even if your apartment is small or maybe it's older... having a rug adds a lot of character, and it just shows, it elevates like the whole space a lot more. Okay, so it's a full-length mirror.
Okay.
But I backlit it. So I'm going to find a better picture for it.
Right, to pop up.
And so, but what I did, and I think it looks pretty good, is I have like a garage light.
Okay.
That I just bought.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be like a fancy light or anything, so it's just like resting on the ground. But then I like the backlit effect because it gives like good lighting if I'm like looking at the mirror, looking at my outfit. This mirror and the light are not expensive, and so I think that gives me a slight advantage in this product battle because this mirror I think was like from Target for $40. Shout out to Anissa for this mirror. And then the light was not expensive either. It was maybe $40.
And I like that it doesn't have to be any specific light. I really like the backlit thing, Ethan. So I've always had this issue every time I move, and I've moved houses like 3 times so far.
Yeah.
I always have to find like an apartment that has a big window so I can put my mirror against it. So that I can have good lighting.
Right.
And like I never thought about like just adding like lighting behind it. So I think that's great, and it looks really aesthetic. I always used to see like these backlit mirrors, and I was like, why do they have those? Like it looks pretty, but like why? And now I want to go find a garage light and throw
Yeah.
it behind my mirror.
And the thing is, like, I think mirrors go well in the corners.
Yes,
because
they
like if
do.
it's stuck like on a window, it's kind of weird.
It
but
does look weird.
it also makes your room look bigger.
Yes, in the corners especially.
So
I completely agree.
So that's what I do, and I think it looks great.
Okay.
And I actually have 2 of these mirrors on
Yeah.
2 corners.
Okay.
And
I like it.
I really like the look of it. Yeah.
You've convinced me.
Okay.
We both have the thing that the other person doesn't.
Yeah. And now we know what we need to do to upgrade. Mm-hmm. So once we start making money on this podcast, that's what we'll get. Mm-hmm. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful for all of you, including like good product recommendations to elevate your home. And I thought this episode was great and lots of like good takeaways. Mm-hmm. And lots of like crazy talk that wasn't that crazy at the end.
Yeah.
And so we'll take that. And so we'll catch you guys in the next one.